Commissioners. We have a public hearing scheduled for 6:15. I will read the three items that are up for consideration for the public hearing, and I'll read those. First is the annexation of planning services of 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, approximately 1.32 acres, map 73, parcel 71. The second item is the annexation and planning services of 1191 Nonneville Road, approximately 1.02 acres, map 50, parcel 98. The third item is the land use amendment, annexation and planning services and rezone of 9127 Lebanon Road, Crispin property, approximately 3.43 acres, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65 from RS40 and CNS. If there's anyone here that would like to make a comment on that, we will recognize you for 3 minutes. We'd ask for your name and address, and I would invite you to come forward to the podium and address the board. No need to fight, just form a line. All right, well, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. We'll reconvene at 6:30 for our regularly scheduled and exciting Board of Commissioners meeting. get them. Good evening and welcome to the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. It's February 10th. Having a quorum present, I'll call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. And our first item on our agenda is the setting of the agenda. Is there any changes or comments to the agenda? Commissioner Hefner?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to remove 11E from consent.
Okay. We'll move 11E to after the consent agenda. Any other questions? All right. Without objection, with that one change, we'll set the agenda as published. Next item is invocation and pledge of allegiance. Call upon our city manager, if you would, lead us in the invocation and pledge, please.
Yes, sir. Everybody will bow your heads for me, please. Dear Lord, your word says that all things work together for the good of those who love you, to those who are called according to your purpose. God, we love you, and we gather to carry out the task that you have given us to fulfill our purpose. I pray that you intervene in this meeting, let it work for our good and for the good of the city. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. The next item is the approval of the minutes. We have one set from January 27th. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes pass. Are adopted, I guess is a better way to say it. Next item is citizen comments. We're at the point in our meeting where we'll open the floor for citizen comments. This will be your opportunity to address the Board of Commissioners. What I'd ask, if you'd like to address the board, is to come forward to the podium, give your name and address for the record. You'll be recognized for 3 minutes. All right, seeing none, we will close citizen comments and move to commissioner comments and report. Commissioner Giles, you are recognized, sir, for 5 minutes.
I have no comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Trevette, you're recognized.
Mayor, thanks. Just want to say thanks to the senior centers that came out, the senior center board that came out tonight. Just want to appreciate their time, as well as the parks team coming out to discuss some new events coming for the senior center building. And also, as always, just want to thank our first responders for all the work that they've done and all the reports that we've got this week. For the citizens, there's a lot of things that are communicated behind the scenes, and we have the best of the best. Just want to thank them publicly and continue the great work that they do for us. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize Commissioner Hefner for 5 minutes.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate that and appreciate everybody coming out, all 3 or 4 of you. The rest, I know you guys have to be here. So, and those watching online. Crud going around, praying for everybody that's got it. I'm getting over it. We just had a godson, won't mention his name. It's released from the hospital the other day. So his prayers were answered. So if you've got the crud, be patient. You'll get through it. But it is something to have to deal with. Also want to welcome some small businesses. One that just had a grand opening. I was at the ribbon cutting earlier this week. Honky Tonk Creamery. Some people get it, some people don't. I've heard more favorable comments about the business than not. I think there was one comment on social media that didn't quite get it, but it's a very unique venue. It's all live music. It's all country, like classic country music, not country that you hear on the radio today, but what you might have heard back in the 80s and 90s. So I really enjoy it. And you can have some ice cream. So, and it works. Place has been packed every time I've been in there. So want to welcome them in the grand opening. Just happened. And then Slick City, I don't know, can we mention this? Is it under a code name or is that the actual name? But Slick City is coming out, Golden Bear. Really excited about this. Finally, getting something. And kudos to staff that's been working on bringing this business here close to a year, I think, is what I heard. So they're going to be breaking ground here soon. So it's an indoor trampoline and slide park for kids and adults. So I'll be the first one through the door. So I can't wait to slide down the slide. So, and then last but not least, on a serious note, and I apologize for not being able to make the meeting 2 weeks ago. I was in Wisconsin on a business trip. And I wanted to say this then, but I wasn't here, but I'm going to say it sooner rather than later. I've talked to our city attorney and Kenny Martin. You've got the city hall project coming up. And because of property that I have that's in close proximity, I am going to be abstaining from any conversations to take place with this project as a city commissioner. I'm just not going to go down this road again that I went down a couple of years ago. So I just want to make this public knowledge and put that out there sooner rather than later, that I'm not going to be participating in any of these conversations as a city commissioner. I will not be voting on them. I'm going to be abstaining from those votes. So we have plenty of commissioners up here, mayor and vice mayor. For those in District 3, I sincerely apologize for not being able to represent you on this very important vote. But I'm making this decision in the best interest of myself and my family and those close around me. So I will be speaking on behalf as a citizen. So if there is something that I feel pretty strongly about, I do reserve the right as a United States citizen, a citizen of Tennessee, and a citizen of this community to speak at citizen comments. So with that, sorry for the very serious note on that, but feel pretty strongly about it. And with that, it concludes my comments, Mayor.
Well, thank you, sir. We'll recognize Commissioner Mullally for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to one of our canines, Milo. We have this on the agenda tonight that he's going to be relieved of his active duty. And so his handler, is it Sergeant? Yes, is going to adopt him as his own pet. And of course, he's been his handler, so it only makes sense. But I got to do 2 ride-alongs with Milo and see him actually work, and he was very good. And he's done a great job in his duties to the police department. And so he's a great dog, and I'm just very proud of Milo. So congrats to Milo and Chris Barth as well. So the rest of my time, I think I'm going to talk about the new Rec Aquatic Center. So as you know, this board just kind of voted to sort of move the project forward to see, where we could go with it. And so we had 3 town halls that we opened up to the public and got public feedback on what the public would like to see. And so then 1st of January, the committee that we formed has had 2 meetings. And so it's getting close to budget time now. So it's time for the committee to narrow this down and put it in some kind of reality, something, so like some real numbers, because the idea is we'll have to do a bond on it. And of course, it's comes from the hotel motel tax, but we have to do a bond on it, and we're going to have a plan on how we're going to be able to afford to staff it and run it and things like that. So that's what the committee now is working on. And so we're committed to narrowing that down so that during budget time, we have something to produce for this board to vote on. So I had in my newsletter that I'm now the BOC rep on this committee. And so I stated this in my newsletter that I'm committed to seeing this through. So if you've heard anything to the contrary with my name attached, it's not true, because I am committed to seeing this through. I believe that this town, we have over 40,000 people. I think, the people for a long time have wanted a pool. I've wanted a long time for a pool. I wish my kids had a pool growing up. But we're looking at now. So I'm going to give you just a brief update on what the committee has been talking about. And shout out to Sam Anderson. He's the architect who's been doing a lot of work for free. And so if you've ever been to Spring Hill, there's not the main Williamson County Rec Center, but there's another one there called Longview. The gym where the basketball courts are is the footprint that we would like to have here. And so I have emailed him asking if they could provide some sort of blueprint so that we could give it to our architect. And, so in the meantime, our architect did come up with the layout for the basketball courts and how many indoor pickleball courts, volleyball courts, and badminton courts and things like that we could put in there. And then also the pool area, we've had to cut back. So we know that there's been a lot of requests for competition pools for swim teams. I reached out to one of the school board members and was told that the schools do not fund the swim teams. They're sort of on their own. So there will not be any money coming from the schools to contribute toward a competition pool. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have to be real. We cannot afford a competition pool. So, because we had looked at a competition pool and a community pool, we just cannot afford it. And our biggest priority is to our residents and to the families, and the kids. So what we're going to do now, we sort of got an estimate somewhere between 9 and 10 million for the gym, but that did not include the pool. And, the bond that we had kind of approved up here to work with was 11.4 million. So what we're going to do now is do the blueprint after the gym, the basketball courts in Spring Hill, and then have one pool that's big enough. We don't want to make the mistake of starting off our first pool that's too small. So a lot of people had talked about the Jimmy Floyd pool inside, which I think is way too small. So anyway, we have to come up with something, and our architect is working on it now for a price for the pool. It's estimated somewhere between 1 and 5 million, depending on what we come up with. So what we want to do is combine the two pools, have one community pool with a 0 entry for the little toddlers to play. And then you have over here at the same time, some older kids playing. You got some seniors here doing water aerobics. And then we have some lanes over here where, swimmers could just swim laps, because we have a lot of swimmers in our community that just like to swim, So nothing for competition. I hate to say that, but we just can't afford that. So that's what we're looking at now. So Sam is going to do one blueprint that includes the gym and the one pool. And then we got to get a price on the pool and then go from there. So that's the update. And so I just wanted everybody to know, where we are on the rec center. But again, I want to see this through. I want this to become a reality one day. I really do. As far as operations, we know that we can't fund that now right away, but we have to come up with a plan on how we're going to be able to afford the operations, staff it, get the lifeguards, do the maintenance, all that good stuff. So we're prepared to have that ready for the budget time to submit something to this board. So that's all I wanted to say. And so just give you an update on what's happening with the rec center. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, we'll recognize our city manager for his comments.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Commissioners. Thanks for everybody being here tonight. Those watching from home. Only I have to add tonight is what I always add is just for Everybody be safe out on the roads. Thank our police department, our public works in particular. I want to give a shout out to Public Works for what they do as far as with the pothole repairs. There's a lot of that happens this time of year. Signalization, what they've done with that, to where the signals basically speak with one another. I think that's a lot better. You don't see traffic lights out here like you used to. We have a bulb out here and there. You never see that anymore. Really appreciate that, and appreciate the commission on the LED upgrades on the lights on Mount Jet Road. I don't know if anybody's really noticed it, and you go back and see what it looks like. That was one of the best investments I think the city's made in a long time. And so unless you were out at night on Mount Jet Road and you realize the difference it's made, it's pretty big. But I really want to give a shout out to Public Works and the street department, be it signs, traffic signals, whatever it is, the timing with the lights. I really appreciate that. And last but not least, please continue to shop locally. Our businesses depend on it and the city depends on it. And that's why we have such awesome services, is because of those sales tax dollars. So keep them coming in and keep shopping locally. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. That will move to our business portion of our agenda, which is the first item is 10A, which is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2024-25 budget ordinance 24-25 to accept the grant from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation for the purchase of an R1 series rescue boat and transport trailer for the City of Mount Juliet Fire Department.
Second.
Motion is second. I have one change that we need to make on this. I think we've got it under the budget allocation coming out of police, and we need to I'm gonna make a motion to change that to fire.
I'll second that.
All right. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. And the motion carries. All right, back to 10A as once amended. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of 10A, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item carries on first reading. 10B is an ordinance to reconsider the planning development condition number 13 of ordinance 2020-11, which establishes the zoning and PUD overlay for the district being located at 108 Story Creek Road to revise the requirements for the commercial building and to be completed by the 8th Townhome Certificate of Occupancy. Motion and a second. Any questions or comments on 10B? Commissioner Giles, you're recognized.
So we've talked to the developer and they have agreed to also add in here the language that by the 38th CO, they will also have the off-site greenway completed by then as well. So that's going to be added into this. Yes, attorney, or I'm sorry.
You are recognized.
I would just add to that if we can add it to Public Works Condition 6D.
Would that be with Public Works 6D? So you want to add that language to 6D, or you're adding a 6D?
6D already exists. Just add it as
Add
a
it.
last sentence to 6D.
Yep. Yes. All right, I'll second that. All right, any questions or comments on the amendment? All right, all in favor of the amendment that will state, which will be added to 6D under Public Works, that by the 38th CO, the off-site greenways will be completed. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Back on 10B as amended once. Any questions or comments? Vice Mayor, you're recognized.
I just wanted to see if we can get something from the representation on if we can get a timeline on when this project's going to be starting. Just so, obviously not going to hold them to the fire, but I know that there's a timeline and just want to get a projected date because I know this has been discussed for many years. So it's great to see something moving forward.
If I can get your name and address for the record, please.
Tulsi Patel, 210 Lakecrest Drive. The timeline is we've submitted a grading plan to with the FMDP package, which is on the next Planning Commission agenda. So once we get that approval, we plan on starting, as soon as like a couple of weeks after that. So we're hoping March, if not, then April.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I just want to see if we had anything out there that was thrown out there. And then thank you also for today's text messages pertaining to some of the traffic or the parking concerns. So
Yeah.
thanks for the continued communication on
Yeah.
that as well. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of 10B as once amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 10B passes on first reading.
Thank you.
The next item is our consent agenda. We have 7 items under consent. I will read those. 11A, a resolution approving the agreement between the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and the Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Cooperative for the Golden Bear Gateway utility relocation and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. 11B is a resolution approving the agreement between the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and Middle Tennessee Electric Cooperative for the Beckwith Road utility relocation and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. 11C is a resolution of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement to the agreement by and between the City of Mount Juliet and Nesbitt Construction to establish the guaranteed maximum price for Phase 2 work of the Fire Station 3, a copy of said agreement being attached hereto and being made part of this resolution by reference. 11D is a resolution to accept the grant from the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Federation for the purchase of an R1 Series rescue boat and transport trailer for the City of Mount Juliet Fire Department. 10F is a resolution declaring the City of Mount Juliet Fire Department's property as surplus. I'm sorry, I called that 10F, 11F, but 11G is a resolution authorizing the city manager to research and locate a firm that can complete a needs assessment for a new city hall. 11H is a resolution approving a police K-9 transfer agreement and release waiver for K-9 between the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and Christopher Barth. Is there a motion for the consent?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. The consent generally is not debatable, but what's your question, ma'am?
Well, I kind of screwed up. I meant to have 11G removed from consent. I guess it's too late now. Is there anything like we can?
You could make a motion to suspend the rules.
All right. I make a motion to suspend the rules in order to get 11G removed from consent.
Okay. Is there a second? All right, there's a second on that. All in favor of suspending the rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By unanimous vote, the rules are suspended. With that, I'm going to suggest that we just consider 11G at this point. Would that be?
By itself?
Yep. And I'll read that, and then we'll go back to where we were with the consent minus
Okay.
11G, assuming we get a motion to go back into general session.
Okay.
Here. 11G, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to research and locate a firm that can complete a needs assessment for a new city hall. Is there a motion? Have a motion. Is there a second on the item? Okay, we got a second on that. The item is on the floor. Commissioner Mullally, you're recognized.
Well, does the sponsor want to say anything first?
Yeah, I can explain it.
Okay,
Very
go ahead.
Well, I will recognize Commissioner Giles.
So we need to know what we need before we set out to get any kind of bids on for someone else to say, here's what it's going to cost. We've got to know what we need. For example, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. So if we're going to do a new city hall, whether it's sitting back here in the back here, across the street down here somewhere, or over on Clemens or wherever, we didn't need to know what our needs are. How many square feet do we need for our offices, our proposed growth? What do we need for this chamber? Because obviously it's not big enough for us most of the time. We need to know how much conference space that we need. We've got maybe 2 here that we use. We need to know how much storage area we need. We need to address the safety, not only for the public that's in here, but we need to address the safety, or that study needs to address the safety for the public, the employees, for us up here. Ingress and egress to wherever that building's going to be. we've got a situation here at this building where that everybody parks everywhere. So, I would hope that when we do that assessment, there would be employee parking that would be reserved only for them, that would be secured, and that we would be able to access that as well. So if it was like here on this piece of property at the back of here, we have one street that could be employee and we have the other street that could be public. There's a lot of things that we need to look into, because if we don't, we might have someone give us a bid on something that says, okay, here's a bid for this building, period. All right. It might be many square feet more than we would even need, or reverse that, it could be a lot less than that. So I've talked to the chief of police. I've talked to IT. I've talked to finance, Dean, all of these. There's a lot of things that go into that. We need to really know what we want and what we need before we go out. So because it is we don't have to put it out to find the architect. If we've got a relationship, which we do with the ones over at the police department right now, they can do that. And if we chose to do that, Kenny would be looking and reporting back. We've already got a relationship with them. They also know contractors. It would be open once we got what we need. It would be open to take those bids from whomever, but at least they know people who's done that kind of work. So we want a city hall that would be built with those specifications of things that we need, not somebody else saying it. Somebody's got to have to do it somehow. So we want that. And let's say, for example, that we chose to sell this whole block. At least we've got what we need. We know what we need at Clemens or down here or somewhere. We already have that. So I just feel like that's putting the horses before the cart, which we need. So that's why I did it.
Well, I looked at it as an opportunity. If somebody comes back with an RFP for a city hall, just here is, you want this building, this is what we need to replace it. And just being able to kind of lift and drop that document with somebody else, that if that's part of a plan or a deal somebody wants to do, we've already got that worked out.
Right. At either place or any
Yeah.
of those places.
Any
Yeah.
insert scenario. I don't know that us just taking on the project of building a brand new city hall right off the bat is probably on the immediate horizon. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not. But it's still good to have those pieces if it is.
And what that does, that professional assessment will come in and talk with all of us. It'll talk to the department heads. It'll talk to everybody to see what those needs are, so that we can give some direction or give some information.
Do we have any idea how much this would cost
It probably won't cost over $1 million.
for the?
Well, I think that's part of the.
Tonight,
I think that's part of the process, is to put that in the hands of the city manager to bring it back. I mean, say it is over $1 million, we want to vote on that.
I mean, it probably realistic, and I don't know this. It'd probably be $20,000, $30,000. I don't know. It could be a little bit more, a little less. I don't know that. I've never done anything like that. I know the police department, they had to do a needs analysis to come up with that, and the architects whom they're using now did that. So, yeah, and everybody speaks very highly. Everyone I've talked with are very complimentary on the way that they work with you, and it's like they're working for us. We're not, they're not. So it's a great relationship.
All right. So if this gets approved, what's the next step on hiring one? Or do you bring back the numbers to this board for a vote before we go hire one?
City manager.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. What I'll do, if the board desires, is I'll start making those calls to different firms, maybe some local firms that could do this as well, trying to get some basic pricing for the square footage that we're anticipating of what that would cost and look like on the front end. Not talking about an overly huge facility, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 square feet. And then I would bring that back before the commission, either in the form of a resolution if we didn't have the money in the budget, there may be a small budget amendment depending on the cost of the assessment.
Okay. But you can't hire one until this
No,
board
ma'am.
votes on it.
Now, since it's professional services, we could pick one without having to put it out for like public bid, but I wouldn't even go that far until the commission had voted on it and gave me the directive to do it.
And this is just not to put words in your mouth, but this is just a directive to state the
that.
will of the board for the city manager to explore this.
And as of right now, and we may know approximately, but we really don't know what we want or need, until we do this assessment. Because we also need to figure in growth. That 10-year police study was for 10 years, but we might want, when we get this, we might want to look at 15 or 20 or 25. And something else I didn't throw in, I've been thinking about, because I deal with churches all over the state. And a lot of times when a church will build, they'll talk to me, they'll confer with me about insurance and some of the construction and things like that. And a lot of your churches will build so that they can expand down the road if God so blesses them to do that. We need to have a mindset, in my opinion, too, if we go vertical or however we go, that we plan for that growth down the road so that our children's children that's sitting up here, maybe some of them will not have to say, well, why didn't they plan on this? We've got, because land's not getting any, it's not being created anymore. So, so if we do 2 floors, we could fortify that top so that we could go on vertical again if we needed to. But I know we'd have to get because of the 30 feet, but still, we need to plan for that. We need to do, if it costs another $20,000 in construction, do that. Even if it costs a little bit more, we're doing that for the citizens of this city so that it's less money down the road. So I want to see that in the plan. I think we're going to grow. Just look at what we can go from history to see what we grow. We're not going to stop growing. We're close to the airport. We're close to, so we've got to look at that growth for the future. So
the reason I wanted this pulled out of consent was because I was going to vote no on this because I can't see spending, and I had no clue. 75,000, 200,000 or 300,000. I have no idea. If it costs something like 20 or 30,000, maybe so. But so I wanted it to be heard separately because if I voted against this, I can't vote against the entire consent because everything else I want to pass. So that's the reason that a motion to suspend the rules to have this heard separately. So I guess if the price, were to come back something reasonable, like 20, 30,000, perhaps. So I'm sure this is going to pass anyway, whether I vote on it or not. But I think for that price, somewhere in that neighborhood, it might be worth it. But to spend a lot of money on it, I don't think the city needs to. Who better to know what we need than we do? This was my thought process. So I'll go ahead and support it. Hopefully somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Giles.
yeah, and Commissioner Mullally, if I also may add, to me, it would be a lot better to put a little bit more money up front than to wait if we didn't have it and we got an RFP to build something and all of a sudden we agreed with somebody. And then in the process, if we don't have this planned out, we say, oh, but we need this. And they say, oh, but yeah, you didn't say it. So that's another, 15,000. This is another 20. If we have everything that we need up front and that assessment should take care of that for the most part, there shouldn't be a lot of, oh, you didn't say that. It should be down there.
Yeah.
So I think it would save us on the front end.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of change orders to.
Right.
City manager.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's input. And in the interim, what we'll probably do is come up with some type of in-house document seeking input from all the staff in our elected body, maybe even something to the citizens like a Survey Monkey or something. So we may be able to save ourselves a lot of money by doing a lot of the questionnaires on our own. Does that make sense to compile like ingress, egress, safety, things of that nature? That way everybody feels like they get some input. That may save on a little bit of cost too. We'll have a little bit on the front end. Commissioner Giles.
Yeah. And while I appreciate you trying to save the money to do that in the city, and I agree with that, we need this to be done professionally, but that's what they do. For example, the architects over at the police department, they did that, correct? And if I'm not mistaken, that was part of their price. And they came to, obviously I wasn't here during that time frame, but they came to everybody dealing with the police department. And I assume some of y'all, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's needed. And while it's great for the general public to comment on some things, they're not here on every day to see what's going on. So that assessment comes from within and from the department heads who knows their staff and stuff too.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so.
All right. All in favor of 11G, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 11G does carry. Would I hear a motion to return to have a second on that? Without objection, we'll return to regular session. Hearing none, we're back in regular session. We'll pick up, I guess, where we left right off, which was the consent agenda vote, minus 11G. All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent agenda is passed. The next item is 11E, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to negotiate the purchase price of the Global Vision property located at 2060 Old Lemon Dirt Road, being approximately 12.08 acres.
Motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And second. The item is on the table. It's under Vice Mayor's sponsorship. Sir, you're recognized.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, there was some discussion today, behind the scenes, just some concerns. Obviously, we know, the land was being previously used as a church. Those folks had moved out. And of course, as Commissioner Giles had mentioned, land is obviously not growing within our city. So it's scarce. So this is some good real estate right here. Obviously, it was something, myself and the city manager were discussing, is this something that the board here wants to take a look at as maybe getting first rights to before it gets put out on the market? And then, of course, we look at it as a missed opportunity that could lead into us paying more for it because we're buying it from somebody else. Okay. So this was where the discussion was. Also the fact that, like when we were looking at this as an opportunity to maybe look at, trying to get into a park, obviously, there is some other areas within our city. We got Charlie Daniels, we got the Frisbee, we've got a few other areas that we're looking to get rid of some of the other lots on earlier conversation about selling off some land in other areas. A lot of our parks are centralized. I would say more towards, central of the city. This could give some more traffic further out. I mean, we have Monday Park, which I would say is about the farthest away from downtown. So there's some new development as well as existing development out there. So again, just looking at, is there something of a need, a want that this board would consider having our city attorney go and make an offer or a discussion for this land here. Also, I guess I don't know if I should bring it up for the city attorney to kind of, there were some concerns there for some possible deed restrictions or I did talk to the landowner, or I'm sorry, not the landowner, but the existing landowners, and basically to clear up any type of confusion. I don't know if I should dirty up the water that much, but it's my understanding the city manager can go ahead and basically discuss with the existing owners. So not to try and circle all back in, but did you want to kind of clarify any of that or no? Sorry to put you on the spot. That'd be great.
There is a current.
You were recognized.
Thank you. There is a current restriction. I'll just read it. It says, when this land ceases to be used for a Baptist church, it is to be returned to the heirs of J.D. Chandler. So that's for this property is multiple parcels, so that's just one piece of it. But obviously anything can be part of a deal or a contract. So that would kind of just go into the resolution, giving the city manager authority to negotiate that.
Mayor, if possible, can I see if the city manager will discuss any other opportunities there as well?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I mean, basically, I wanted to kind of see if you can kind of elaborate a little bit more in depth on, this area, why it's going to be beneficial for us
Yeah.
to turn it into a park. Obviously, centralized based off of where we are.
Yeah, a lot of this came, a lot of discussions, as you've probably all heard over the last few years, because of some of the activities that were occurring on the property and the issues it's creating with traffic and noise and things of that nature. I guess when the talk came up about the church selling the property, I don't know if you all got any calls, but we had received some calls here at City Hall from folks asking in the area, the vicinity in Chandler Point, things that area, if the city would entertain possibly doing a park there, because there'd been a big push for tennis courts and pickleball and things of that nature. And that's, we've had those questions, so it was a question, I guess, worth asking. And with the vice mayor serving on the Parks Board, it just, that's sort of how we got to where we're at tonight, as if it was worth pursuing, if the commission had any desire to pursue it. We couldn't pursue it at the time because they had a contract on it. And of course, we could put a non-contingent contract on the property. We had that come up once before, and I think somebody at that particular time asked me why I didn't put a contract. I said, well, I'm never going to put a contract, even contingent, on a piece of property without the Board of Commissioners' approval, showing that there's a desire there. The reason it came up as quick as it did is there was a contract that was on the property for multifamily, I believe it was, and it finally fell off. So this is just one of those kind of things where maybe it was good to talk about it, even if there wasn't a desire there, so you can pass on it or pursue it. It's one of those kind of things. It was a moment in time that you had before you to where the contract had rolled off. Was there any desire from the commission, an appetite for it? And if not, that's okay too. That's where a lot of it came from, is just inquiries from citizens saying they'd love to see maybe a park.
Yep.
Commissioner Hefner, you recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. We just heard from Rocky Lee earlier this evening. He mentioned the city owns 10 parks right now. We also have land that was recently given to us by some developers that were designated as parks. I'm just of the opinion, and I like Commissioner Giles's thoughts and ideas around a needs analysis. Before we start jumping at every piece of parcel that comes on the market and designating it a new park, I think we need to go through and take a look at what we currently own that we've designated already as parks and see if in fact there's a gap there. I don't believe there is. We're talking about, aquatic center that's going to cost millions of dollars. I think before we start biting off more parkland, we need to take a look at what we've got now, what we plan on doing with it short and long term, and then also address the financing and how we're going to pay for, aquatic center if that passes. So I don't have a strong appetite to go out and start buying more land for parks. I love parks, but we need to take a look at what we're doing with the land we already own and what's our plan going forward. And if it's to not use it as a park, then we need to sell it. And we need to start selling some of our land that we're not going to use and start paying for some of these items that we're currently questioning where the money's going to come from. We've got a fire department that's going to be, close to $12 million that we're in the process of building. We've got a lot of expenses and we've got a lot of land. And right now, land you're paying a premium for it in the city of Mount Juliet. So again, we just need to take a very comprehensive look at our entire portfolio of undeveloped land and determine what are we going to do with it. Is it going to be a park? Great. Let's put a plan together. If it's not, let's look to sell it and offset some of these costs, these capital expenses we're going to have staring at us in the face here in the next couple of years. It's my 2 cents.
Well, I'll add on that as well. We've got a nice update on the aquatic center that's being And, we're already committed on by resolution to 11.4 million dollars on that by resolution. If we move ahead to funding that, that's going to be about $1 million a year in debt service for that bond for the 11.4. Right now, we have no money in the hotel motel tax fund, which is the capital operations budget for parks. The balance that we had was spent renovating and purchasing the property over there by Charlie Daniels Park. Got it back to basically zero at the moment. We expect, but if we move ahead with that bond, that's $1 million of it. That leaves us roughly $300,000 a year in for our capital budget. I just don't know if we pay for this. Plus, once you have the land, we've got some stormwater issues to deal with, and all kinds of other stuff. Parking lots, it could easily be another $1 million or so to get the park to being useful. I think it's a big commitment right now to move forward on it. We've also got property coming back from the senior citizens, and I believe Senior Citizens Center. I believe that is deed restricted as well for only parks. So I know what that use is going to be on that property. That's just my thoughts on it. I just think I think we're pretty committed right now in the terms of our capital funding for park system. I wrote down the director's quote. He said at 5:23 this afternoon, he says, we have more parks than any city around us. So we're doing a lot of things right. That's my thoughts. City manager.
Mayor, this is why I love the transparency of doing it, putting it on the agenda like this so we can vote it up or vote it down. That's what I like about what we do here. It may not seem like it. I know sometimes it's uncomfortable. It actually helps me tremendously because a lot of times the push is from outside. You guys get that as well from citizens, like, wish the city to buy this or wish the city to do that. And we can get up here in front of our citizens, those that we serve, and say, hey, we vetted it. It's just not a good thing for the city at this particular time. I actually greatly appreciate that. It's a lot easier. That way it eliminates any sidebar conversations and it gets everybody at the table one time. I'm actually thankful for that. To be honest with you, I really appreciate it. I'm glad we encourage this. It's easier for me because it's easier for me just to pick up the phone and call the broker. And sometimes the folks will reach out to us, hey, we got some property if you want to do this with. So thank you guys for taking time to make this an agenda item and airing it out here. That helps me tremendously. So I think it's all excellent points. I totally agree with you. So thank you.
All right. Commissioner Mullally.
Okay. I would love to have it. It's got a really nice building on it, but it's also got a lot of issues. I don't think the time is right. If we weren't building a new police headquarters, a new fire department, trying to get a rec center off the ground, and now investing money to get the senior center going. So we just found out about that tonight. But being realistic, I'm a no on this. I was told it's got pending lawsuits on it for the stormwater runoff. There's lots of issues from the neighbors that live there because of the water runoff. I think there might be some lawsuits, but anyway, it's got drainage issues. The asking price on it is around $3 million. For me, this property is just too far out. It's out in the county. A little bit closer in, that's already annexed, is our biggest project ever. It has to do with sewer, our EQ basin. So that's 20 plus acres, and a lot of that has already been committed to parks. We've talked about at some point in the future building some kind of thing there for parks, and it's right down the street and it's closer in. So to me, whatever even we could get it for is not even worth finding out, because it just doesn't make sense to buy it. If we had $3 million or whatever to spend on this property, then we can put that toward something else, like the rec center, the senior center. You know, that money can be better spent somewhere else. So to me, that property, I'm not even considering. So, I mean, I'm a definite no.
Right. Vice Mayor?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you know, like my goal tonight was just to bring it up. Really is for us to have it on the agenda for discussion. As we've seen many times, we've missed out opportunities and we've paid more money. Prime example is just the building there on next to Charlie Daniels. So it was just an opportunity for us to be able to discuss it. Did not know until tonight about the, you know, the possible additional concerns with the runoff and so forth and the legal side of that. I'll just go ahead and make a motion to defer this indefinitely, and we'll just go ahead and close it out.
I'll second it. All right. Commissioner Hefner.
It was on the consent agenda. It wasn't up for discussion. I pulled it off. So I don't know how we do, if this is a policy change, but I think any resolution that's authorizing the city manager to negotiate a land deal on behalf of the city of Mount Juliet needs to be not on the consent agenda. I know it's a double negative, but it needs to be up for discussions, not buried in a consent agenda. That's I don't know how, if this is a policy change or what, but if I'll gladly pull them off like I did this one. But if there's something that we can do going forward that we have an opportunity.
Well, I'll take credit and blame for some of that too, because I've encouraged a lot of the stuff to be put on consent agenda, but because a lot of stuff does just go
Yeah,
real
it's
easy. So
quick.
it's easy to pull stuff off, but in cases like this, maybe we do want to just pull those back so we can talk on them, especially land purchases.
Yeah.
I'll take
Cool.
the
Sorry.
credit or blame. All right, we are on a motion to defer indefinitely. Any questions or comments on that? All right, all in favor of indefinite deferral, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is deferred indefinitely. Our last item on the agenda is an appointment of a BOC representative to the Joint Economic Community Development Board, position number 9. I'll open the floor up for nominations. Get
Commissioner.
your mic on.
Oh,
there,
sorry.
Commissioner.
I nominate Commissioner Hefner, and I'd like to say something. Is this an okay time to
Well,
say? Okay.
let's
All right.
finish up nominations. Any other nominations? Without objection, I'll make a motion to cease nominations. All right. And Commissioner Hefner, you're willing?
Yes.
All right. Then we'll give you the floor.
Okay. I was appointed a couple of years ago on this board, and this is the JECDB. It's hard to remember that. So anyway, it's basically the Joint Economic Development Committee for the entire county. And so Corey back here, he's the president, the chair. Yes. So, and also got to serve with Corey on Leadership Wilson last year. Best class ever. So anyway, I've served on it 2 years and I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. However, at this point, I feel like I'm just basically filling a seat. So I would like to turn it over to Commissioner Hefner. He's got the experience. He's got development experience. He's got investment experience. So I feel that he could better serve the board with his knowledge and experience. So I did turn my resignation in as of January 31st. And so that's the reason I want to step aside and allow Commissioner Hefner to take the spot. And I appreciate you saying yes.
I appreciate the nomination. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of Commissioner Hefner, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You are appointed.
Appreciate it.
Our last item on the agenda is item number 13, adjournment. Without objection, and hearing no objection, we are adjourned.